Arman was a very rich man. He was a billionaire who owned many companies, but today he was not thinking about money or business. He was at a small school in a poor neighborhood. He had come to help the school with new books and computers. Arman wanted to do something good for children who did not have much. As Arman walked through the schoolyard, he looked at the children playing and laughing. They looked happy, but some faces were serious. He went inside the school cafeteria to see the children eating their lunch. There, Arman saw something that made his heart heavy. Sitting alone at a small table was a little girl. She looked very thin and wore old clothes. In front of her was an empty lunchbox. It was clean and open, but there was no food inside. Arman quietly watched her. The little girl's name was Aisha. She did not say anything. She just looked down at her empty lunchbox. Some children nearby noticed her too. They started to laugh and point at her. They whispered to each other, "Why does she have no food? Does she come from a poor family?" The children laughed louder, making Aisha's face turn red. She tried to hide her face, but the tears came. Arman felt very sad. He could not understand why such a small girl had to suffer. He saw how lonely she was. No one sat with her. No one helped her. She was just there with her empty lunchbox. He slowly walked closer, but Aisha did not look up. She kept quiet. Arman wanted to ask her why she had no food, but he was not sure how to start. He waited quietly, watching her. A teacher came near and saw Arman looking at Aisha. The teacher smiled and said, "She is a good girl, but she has problems at home. Her mother is sick and they have no money. That is why she can't bring food to school." Arman's heart broke a little more. He thought, how can a child suffer like this? How can her mother be sick and she has no one to help her? Aisha finished sitting there, her eyes still wet with tears. She slowly packed her empty lunchbox. Arman wanted to say something kind, but she quickly walked away. She looked like she wanted to disappear. Arman decided to follow her. He wanted to help, but he also wanted to know her story more. Where did she live? How did she live? What was her daily life like? As Aisha walked out of the school, she held a small old photo in her hand. Arman noticed it but did not want to scare her. He watched her carefully. The photo was torn and dirty. It was a picture of a woman holding a small child. Arman wondered if it was Aisha and her mother. Aisha stopped at the school gate. She looked back once at the schoolyard. Then she went down a small street. The street was dirty and quiet. There were few people around. Arman followed, keeping some distance. He wanted to be sure that Aisha was safe. He felt a strange feeling inside. He felt like he needed to protect this little girl. As they reached a small old house, Aisha knocked softly on the door. No one answered at first. Then the door opened slowly. A tired woman appeared. Her face was pale and her eyes looked weak. It was clear she was very sick. Aisha smiled sadly and hugged her mother. She gave the woman the empty lunchbox and the photo. The mother looked at the photo and started to cry softly. Arman stood at a distance, watching this scene. He realized this little girl's story was much deeper than he thought. She was not just hungry. She was living a hard life with a sick mother and no help. He wanted to do something, but he did not know where to start. Arman felt a tear come down his cheek. He wiped it quickly. No one had seen him cry before. But today, something inside him changed. He made a silent promise. "I will help this little girl and her mother. I will make sure they do not suffer anymore." But how? What could he do? Arman was a busy man with many problems and responsibilities. Could he really help someone like Aisha? The sun was setting and the small street grew darker. Arman looked at Aisha and her mother standing in the door. The mother held her daughter tightly, as if she was her only hope. Arman took out his phone and called his assistant. "Find me the best doctors who can help a sick woman in this area," he said, "and send food and medicine to this house immediately." His assistant was surprised but said, "Yes, sir, I will do it now." Arman felt a small smile on his face. This was the first step. As he left the street, he looked back once more at Aisha. She was still holding the photo. looking hopeful but tired. The mystery of Aisha's life was just beginning to unfold. Armin knew this was not just a chance meeting. This was fate. The next morning, the sun was just rising, and the small street where Aisha and her mother lived was still quiet. But soon the quiet was broken by the sound of a car. It was a clean white car, unlike the old cars usually seen there. Inside the house, Aisha's mother, Sana, was already awake. She felt weak, but tried to smile for her daughter. She knew today might be different because last night, a kind man had promised help. But she didn't know who that man was or how he could help. Suddenly the doorbell rang. Aisha ran to open the door. Outside were 2 doctors and a nurse, all wearing white coats. They smiled warmly at Sana and Aisha. "We are here to help," said the senior doctor kindly. "We heard about your condition and we want to do our best." Sana's eyes filled with tears. She could hardly believe it. She had thought she was alone in this world, but now strangers had come to save her. Armin was not there yet, but his assistant had sent the doctors. She sat in the car nearby, watching carefully. The doctors checked Sana's condition right away. They gave her medicines and told her she needed to rest a lot. They said she would need a few tests at the hospital, but for now, she would get better with their care. Aisha helped her mother sit down. She felt hope for the first time in many months. She looked at the empty lunchbox and wished it could be full soon. She wanted to bring food to school, not just an empty box. Meanwhile, Armin was busy calling people to arrange more help. He contacted a local charity that gave food and money to poor families. He asked them to support Aisha and Sana until things got better. Armin was still thinking about the photo Aisha held. It was old, but the woman in the photo looked very much like Sana. Armin wanted to know the whole story. Why was this little girl living like this? How did her mother become so sick? And what could he do to help more than just medicines and food? Later that day, Armin visited the school again. He wanted to see Aisha, the girl with the empty lunchbox. When he entered the classroom, the children were playing and laughing again, but Aisha was still sitting alone. Armin walked slowly toward her. Aisha looked up and froze. She did not know who he was, but there was something kind and calm in his eyes. She felt safe. "Hello, Aisha," Armin said softly. "I am Armin. I want to help you and your mother." Aisha blinked in surprise. "Why would you help me?" she asked quietly. Armin smiled. "Because everyone deserves a chance, and I believe you are a very strong girl." Aisha's eyes filled with tears again. This time, they were tears of hope. Armin sat beside her and said, "Tell me your story, Aisha. I want to understand." Aisha took a deep breath and started to speak slowly. She told Armin how her mother was sick for a long time, how they had no money for food or medicine, how the other children laughed at her for not having lunch. Armin listened carefully. He felt a deep sadness but also a strong wish to help. He promised her, "I will do everything I can so you never feel hungry again. And your mother will get the best care." Aisha smiled for the first time in a long while. She believed him, but not everything was easy. Some people did not want Armin to spend money on strangers. Some in his company said he should focus on business, not on a poor girl and her sick mother. Armin ignored them. His heart was with Aisha and Sana. That evening, Armin went home but could not stop thinking about the little girl with the empty lunchbox. He looked at the photo Aisha had and felt more connected to their story. He knew this was only the beginning. The next day, Armin could not stop thinking about the old photo that Aisha kept so carefully. The photo showed a young woman with a gentle smile, holding a baby. Something about the picture felt familiar to Armin, but he could not place it yet. Curious, Armin decided to visit the local library and search for old records. He asked the librarian if she had any information about the woman in the photo. The librarian took one look and said, "This woman was someone important years ago. Her name was Fatima." Armin's heart beat faster. The name sounded familiar. Fatima was known in the city for her kindness and charity work. She helped poor families and children get food and medicine. But then one day she disappeared without any explanation. Armin asked the librarian if there were any news articles or photos about her. The librarian gave him a dusty old newspaper from many years ago. The headline read, "Fatima's sudden disappearance shocks city." Armand took the paper and sat down quietly. He read that Fatima had left behind a baby girl when she vanished. Many people believed Fatima had been forced to leave because of powerful enemies. Armand's mind raced. Could Aisha be Fatima's daughter? Could this little girl with the empty lunchbox be connected to the woman in the photo? He decided to visit Sana again to ask questions. At the small house, Sana was sitting quietly with Aisha. When Armand arrived, Sana looked nervous but welcomed him inside. Armand showed her the photo and the newspaper. Sana's eyes filled with tears as she recognized the woman in the picture. "That is Fatima," she said softly. "She was my sister." Armand was surprised. "Your sister? Where is she now?" Sana shook her head. "No one knows. She left when Aisha was just a baby. She wanted to protect her from danger. I promised to take care of Aisha." Armand looked at Aisha, who was listening quietly. He realized the family had been through a lot. Fatima had disappeared to keep Aisha safe, but now Aisha and Sana were struggling alone. Armand made a promise to Sana. "I will help you find Fatima, and I will make sure you and Aisha never have to suffer again." Sana smiled weakly but felt hope for the first time. Meanwhile, at the school, the children had started to notice the change in Aisha. She was no longer the quiet, lonely girl. She was smiling more and even sharing her small lunch with others, but some children were still jealous and whispered behind her back. Aisha felt scared but remembered Armand's words about being strong. Armand arranged for Aisha and Sana to move into a safe home while Sana received better medical care. He also hired a tutor to help Aisha catch up with her studies. Despite the help, Armand knew the journey was far from over. Fatima's disappearance was a mystery that needed solving, and there were powerful people who did not want the truth to come out. One evening, Armand received a strange phone call. The voice on the other end warned him to stop looking for Fatima. Armand's heart pounded, but he refused to be scared. He knew helping Aisha and Sana was the right thing to do. He decided to hire a private investigator to find clues about Fatima's location. As the days passed, Armand grew closer to Aisha and Sana. He saw their courage and kindness despite the hardships. Aisha's empty lunchbox was slowly being filled, but more importantly, her heart was filling with hope. Armand's private investigator, Mr. Raza, started digging into Fatima's disappearance. He searched through old police records, spoke with people who knew her, and visited places she used to go. But every time he got close to a clue, something or someone stopped him. One afternoon, Raza called Armand with a worried voice. "There. Is someone watching us, Armand? We are being followed. Fatima's story is bigger than we thought." Armand frowned but stayed calm. "We cannot stop now. If Fatima is alive, we must find her." Meanwhile, at the safe home, Sana was growing stronger. She told Armand more about her sister Fatima. "Fatima was kind and brave," Sana said quietly. "She helped many poor families, but she also angered some powerful people who wanted to stop her." Sana's voice trembled as she explained how Fatima had found out about a secret plan by some rich men to take away land from poor families. Fatima wanted to protect the families, Sana said, but these men wanted her gone. Armand's heart sank. The danger was real. He knew that, if those men were still around, they could harm Aisha and Sana too. One evening, while Armand was leaving the safe home, a black car followed him closely. He took a different road and lost the car, but he understood the threat was near. Armand decided to increase security for Sana and Aisha. He also called a trusted friend in the police to keep an eye on them. At school, Aisha's life was slowly changing. She made new friends who accepted her, and she was happy to learn. But sometimes she looked at the old photo of her mother and wondered what had happened to her. One day, Aisha asked Sana, "Why did mother leave me?" Sana hugged her tightly and said, "She left to protect you, my dear. She wanted you to be safe, even if it meant being far away." Aisha's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Back at his office, Armand studied the old newspaper articles. and pictures again. He noticed something strange. One of the men involved in the land plan was someone he had met before in business meetings. Could this man be part of the reason Fatima disappeared? Arman called his assistant and said, "Find everything about this man. We need to know what he is hiding." Days later, the assistant found secret documents showing that the man had bribed officials and threatened many families. Arman knew he had to expose this corruption, but he also knew it would be dangerous. He invited Sana and Aisha to a quiet dinner to tell them his plan. "I will use my resources to fight these men," Arman promised. "And I will find your mother, Fatima." Sana smiled with hope, but Aisha was still afraid. "What if they come after us?" she asked softly. Arman held her hand. "I will protect you both. You are not alone." The night after the dinner, Arman received an anonymous letter. It warned him to stop the investigation or face serious consequences, but Arman's determination grew stronger. The next morning, Arman met with the city's top lawyer to prepare a case against the corrupt men. Meanwhile, Sana and Aisha tried to live normal lives, but the danger was always close. One day while playing in the garden, Aisha found a small hidden note in the bushes. It was from her mother. The note said, "My dear Aisha, if you are reading this, know that I love you very much. I had to leave to keep you safe. One day, we will be together again." Aisha held the note tightly and ran to Sana, crying with hope and sadness. Sana hugged her and whispered, "We will find her, my child, I promise." Arman heard about the note and felt a new strength. The pieces of the puzzle were coming together. But who had sent the note? Was Fatima really alive? And could they find her before the dangerous men did? Many questions. Where was Fatima hiding? Was she safe? And how had she managed to send the note without anyone knowing? Arman called his assistant again. "We need to find out where this note came from," he said. "There must be clues." The assistant took the note carefully and examined it. "The paper is old and the ink is fading, but I see some marks on the back. It looks like a code or a map." Arman's eyes widened. "A secret map? That could lead us to Fatima." He showed the note to Sana and Aisha. Sana's face grew serious. "My sister was very smart. She would never leave without a plan." Arman arranged a meeting with a trusted code expert to try and understand the marks on the note. After hours of work, the expert said, "This is a simple but clever code. It points to a small village near the mountains." Sana's heart beat faster. "That is where our family came from." Arman smiled gently. "Then that is where we will go." The next morning, Arman, Sana, and Aisha prepared for the trip. They knew it might be dangerous, but they had no choice. Finding Fatima was their only hope. As they reached the small village, they noticed how quiet and peaceful it looked. But beneath the calm, Arman felt a hidden tension. People stared at them and some quickly moved away. They asked around for any sign of Fatima, but no one spoke. One evening, as they walked near the edge of the village, Arman saw a figure watching them from the shadows. "Who's there?" he called softly. The figure stepped forward. It was an old woman with kind eyes and a sad smile. "I am Noor," she said. "I knew your mother Fatima." Arman and Sana listened carefully as Noor told them about the last time she saw Fatima. She was trying to protect the village from the rich men who wanted to take their land, Noor explained. She disappeared after she found proof against them. Noor gave them a small box. "Fatima left this for you. She said to give it only to you, Arman." Inside the box was a USB drive and a letter. The letter said, "This contains everything. You need to stop the corrupt men, protect my family, and bring justice." Arman felt a mix of hope and fear. This evidence could destroy the bad men, but it could also put them all in danger. That night, as they prepared to leave the village, a car suddenly blocked their way. Two men stepped out, angry and threatening. "We know what you have," one said. "Give it to us or face the consequences." Arman stood firm. "I will not be scared. The truth will come out." Sana held Aisha tightly. "Please don't hurt us." Just then, the villagers came out from their homes. They were tired of the corruption and wanted to protect Fatima's family. Together, they forced the men to leave. Arman thanked the villagers and promised to help them. The next day, back in the city, Arman prepared to release the proof against the corrupt men. But he knew the battle was not over. There would be more dangers ahead. Back in the city, Arman sat in his large office. The USB drive was on his desk, holding the secret to expose the corrupt men who had hurt Fatima and the village. He knew this was his chance to bring justice. Sana and Aisha were with him. Sana looked worried, but strong. Aisha held her mother's hand tightly, not fully understanding the danger but feeling the tension in the room. Arman connected the USB to his computer. Files, photos, and videos appeared. The evidence was clear: illegal land deals, threats, and lies by powerful men, trying to steal from poor families. He called a trusted journalist. "You must publish this story. The world needs to know." The journalist agreed but warned, "These men have power. They will try to stop you." Arman nodded. "We are ready." As the story spread, the city was shocked. People protested against the corrupt leaders. The police started an investigation, but the corrupt men did not give up easily. One night, Arman's office was broken into. Papers were stolen and his security cameras were damaged. Sana and Aisha were scared. "What if they come after us?" Sana asked. Arman hugged them both. "We will stay strong. This is for Fatima and all who suffer." The next day, a mysterious phone call came. A harsh voice said, "Stop now, or there will be worse consequences." Arman stayed calm but knew the threat was. Meanwhile, Sana searched for more about her mother's past. She found a diary Fatima had hidden. The pages showed Fatima's bravery and her fight against the corrupt men. It also showed her love for her family and hope for a better future. Arman shared the diary's story on TV. People admired Fatima's courage and wanted to help. Slowly, more people joined the fight. The corrupt men were arrested. The stolen land was returned to the village. One evening, Arman received a message. "Fatima is alive. Meet me if you want to find her." Arman, Sana, and Aisha went to the meeting place, full of hope and fear. Shadow moved closer. A woman stepped out. It was Fatima. Tears filled their eyes. They hugged tightly, the pain of separation washing away. Fatima smiled weakly. "I fought for you. I never gave up." Fatima's return brought light to everyone's hearts. Arman, Sana, and little Aisha felt complete again. But the road ahead was still full of challenges. Fatima was weak from all she had been through. She needed time to heal, both her body and her soul. Sana took care of her every day, while Arman arranged for the best doctors to help. One afternoon, Fatima shared her story. "After they took me, I was kept far away, hidden from everyone," she said softly. "They wanted me to stay silent, but I never stopped hoping." She told them how she managed to escape with the help of a kind guard who believed in justice. Her heart always stayed with her family in the village. Sana held her mother's hand tightly. "We never stopped looking for you," Arman promised. "I will protect you and our family. No one will harm us again." With the evidence Arman had shared and the public support, the village was safe. The people worked hard to rebuild their homes and lives. One day, Arman visited the village. Children played freely, women smiled, and the land was green and full of life. Fatima's bravery had changed everything. Sana looked at her mother and said, "Your courage saved us all." Fatima smiled and whispered, "We all must fight for what is right, even when it feels impossible." Arman invited the villagers to his company to learn new skills and get better jobs. He wanted to give them a future full of hope. Meanwhile, Sana started a small school in the village for children who had never been to school. Aisha helped her, bringing laughter and joy everywhere. The story of their fight and love spread far and wide. People were inspired by their strength and unity. One evening, as the sun set over the village, Fatima sat outside her home, watching. Her family and neighbors happy and safe. Arman came beside her and said, "This is just the beginning. Together, we will build a better world." Fatima looked at the sky and smiled. Yes, a new beginning for all of us.